speaker tonight is no other than Anthony Haller. Anthony helps corporate executives to dramatically increase their investments and gain outstanding performance. He has also helped small tech business owners to close many deals. He has negotiated and delivered global multi-billion dollar impact in Fortune 500 companies, including at Microsoft, IBM, and Experian. He's a great coach with track records even in consulting companies. Today, Anthony will be talking about how to fulfill your highest purpose in hybrid and remote environments. To succeed after a global pandemic, we must change our paradigm. To increase our profits, we cannot just increase our profit alone. So Anthony today will be talking about how select Global 2000 executives reveal some elements that they have used in maximizing this environment. Anthony, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. One point of order. I had asked for permission for sharing the screen. I don't have it yet. Not sure who. Tonight, I want to share that we have a unique opportunity during this incredible experience of the last 2 years to not just increase profit, but transform our lives to go beyond just money, to have purposeful profit. In this world where we can experience greater profit than just financial profits, gone are those days when all people just thought about was, can I make more money? Can I make more profits? A lot of people have woken up to the reality that there's more to life than just making money, and life is short. 6 million people have passed on in just the last year. We've had a dear friend that just passed on last week. And in the midst of that, I know that we can deliver great results, as many have realized, without sacrificing our families, our souls, our well-being. To that end, if we want to succeed in a hybrid environment, there are 3 major elements. One of them is we want to connect to our clients in a different way. Gone are the days when we just schmooze with our clients and waste some time, travel everywhere. Clients want to know, why do they connect with us? Prospects want to reach out to us, but only if we have value to offer to them. And I could talk a lot more about that, but that's not going to be the main focus today. I just want you to realize that it is important for us to add so much value to our clients and deliver the results, their high priority results, so they can become evangelists on our behalf, sharing the good news about our products, our services, our company, and connecting with us as fellow human beings. But the second element that we want to have in place to experience purposeful profit is harmonized employees. When people are isolated, they could be isolated being in cubicles next to each other. They could be disconnected across departments. People could be fighting each other. But in a world where people are now laser focused on delivering high productive results, it's more important than ever again for us to have greater harmony, reach out and connect to others, not leave people, abandon people to feel isolated, and for them not to be certain of where they're at in their lives and how they're adding impact to the organization and to the team and to the project. But the third element, and this is what I'm going to dig deeper a little more tonight, is we want to experience a greater fulfillment in our hearts. Every employee wants to experience this greater connection to our deepest why, our highest purpose. And I'm going to focus on this because I really think that it's vital right now we go deep into these areas. To get there, the first thing that we must do is reorient our thoughts. Reorient our thoughts means, rather, if you find yourself with anxious thoughts, if you find yourself with uncertainty of your purpose, we must dig deeper and take this as a signal on the dashboard that says, let me dig deep, let me go underneath, let me look to see what are the thoughts that are driving these emotions, rather than just live according to the excitement of the moment and follow one email to another, jump from one Zoom meeting to another meeting. Take time to purposefully focus on the thoughts that are underneath your life, that underneath your emotions, that are driving you towards whatever experience you're having in order to experience the greatness of the life that you have now and for all eternity. In the words of Elder Thaddeus of Vitovnica, we want to have this experience of knowing that our thoughts determine our lives. And we can either experience peace and calm, or we will experience anxiety. Depends on what's going on in our thoughts. If you want to learn more about that, feel free to pick up a copy of Vitovnica's book, Our Thoughts Determine Our Lives. But along this line, you might also consider reorienting your thoughts to your deepest why, to find out why you're working, what's the purpose of your work, what's going to ultimately matter when you end this life and go to the next. What's going to be left when you stand before God? What's going to be left behind as your legacy, as your memory? To that end, there's a wonderful book that you might want to pick up called The Purpose-Driven Life, sold over 35 million copies, second only to the Bible, and it can be extremely helpful. I've run several groups with this, and it's been very helpful to all the groups that have worked with me to go through this book. But you might also want to look at how you can develop a deeper spiritual connection. That connection through what I call theosis in our tradition is that transformation, that inner being that transforms to connect to our God-like opportunities, that opportunity to become who we're meant to be, the greatest human being that we could become. And in this time, it's vital that we connect to that spiritual connection and do this in 10-minute ascesis. Ascesis is a Greek word that's simply referring to disciplines. Take breaks throughout the day for 10 minutes, connect to your deepest purpose. Find out where your heart is at. Find out where your fulfillment comes from. Go deeper and deeper, drop by drop. As you do this daily, you will find yourself reorienting your thoughts and not getting so disheveled and overwhelmed by everything else that goes on around us, but rather be more in control. And if you would, part of this experience is there's a book that I'm publishing. And if you want to partake of that experience, you want to have a chat around this, how to experience greater fulfillment in your life, I would love to be able to do that. Feel free to drop me a note on chat, and I'll gladly send you this as a gift once it's ready for publication. This book that I'm publishing in order to show us how we can experience our highest purpose in hybrid and remote environments, how to be able to experience greater client evangelists out there fulfilling our higher impact on our in the environment around us and in the lives of our clients and in their clients, and at the same time, deeper harmonized relationships across various departments and with the people that we work with. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Anthony. That was an awesome speech, and it goes into one of those great learnings that we get in Toastmasters. Please let us take 1 minute. Timer, please set 1 minute to give Anthony some feedback via chat, private chat to him, to appreciate what he has done and give him feedback on how he can improve his speech. Interestingly, I just finished reading a book called Pathological Positivity. And in that book, they were talking about living in the now. And I was like, okay, what does living in the now means? And it goes into that 10 minutes, set a time. Everything you do should be on schedule. So you do it in the now. You don't do it later, you do it now. And the now could be 3 p.m. tomorrow, but you do everything you want to do in the now. And it keeps you focused, it keeps you getting things done. So thank you, Anthony, for sharing that with us. Mr. Timer, let me know when the 1 minute is reached.
All right, 5 seconds, 3 seconds. 1 minute's there.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. We now go to our second speech of the day. Our second speaker is Susan Ally. Susan is a veteran of our club, a seasoned member, and our former sergeant at arms. During our last speech, our evaluator commented You are a seasoned speaker. You should not be reading your speeches anymore. The problem? It's memory issue that she will talk about. She reads from speeches because of her anxiety, and she practices her presentation for days so that she doesn't forget it. But today, Susan will be doing something incredible. She will try to recite a speech word for word, and we'll all be here to judge. And of course, we are a friendly audience. So please join me in welcoming Susan as she gives a speech, How I Reduce My Stress and Increase My Memory Power. Over to you, Susan.
An elderly couple was invited to another elderly couple's house for dinner. After dinner, the wives left the table and went into the kitchen. The husbands were talking. The first man said, "We went to a new restaurant last night. The food was really good. I highly recommend it." The second man said, "Oh yeah? What's the name of the restaurant?" The first man thought and thought and finally said, "What's the name of that flower that you give to someone you love? You know, the one that's red and has thorns?" The other man said, "Do you mean a rose?" "Yes, that's it." And he turned towards the kitchen and yelled, "Hey, Rose, what's the name of the restaurant we went to last night?" That may be a joke, but we have all misplaced keys or blanked out on people's names or find ourselves standing in the middle of a kitchen and wondering, what were we there for? If you have experienced these and other types of forgetfulness, please write "Yes, I have" in the chat box right now. I see a few people writing "Yes, I have." Oh, sure have. Yep, looks like we're in a good company. When you're young, you tend not to pay much attention to these lapses. But when you're getting older, you might worry about what they mean. I once met a talented Toastmaster. She had been in Toastmaster for a number of years. She always spent a lot of time preparing and researching on her speeches until it's almost perfect. She is a dog speaker. You can tell that she enjoyed public speaking because connecting with her audience and sharing with them her thoughts seemed to come naturally to her. One day, she started to lose her focus. She couldn't remember her speeches, even the ones that she has been practicing for 1,000 times. When it was time for her to deliver her speech, it's like something happened to her brain. She couldn't remember anything. It's like her thoughts have scattered everywhere without coherence. So she choked and she panicked. After several times of the same things happened to her, she wondered if she would ever be able to deliver any speeches ever again. She lost all her confidence and was about to quit Toastmasters. I mean, she was devastated. Ladies and gentlemen, that Toastmaster was me. Yes, I said, was me. I decided that instead of watching my memory deteriorate, I was going to do something about it. I hit two birds with one stone. Since my anxiety level was high, I was going to increase my memory power by peace and encouraging thoughts from my favorite book. Not only will the memorization process promote neural connections, the wisdom from these Bible verses would also provide me with comfort and reassurance when facing life's difficulties. Let me demonstrate. Matthew chapter 5, verse 3 to 12 says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemaker, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kind of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 to 7 says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. For some of you young geniuses, memorizing long passages like this might be a breeze. But for someone like me, with my challenges at my age, to be able to turn around memory loss, to memorize passages that I hadn't even been able to memorize in my younger years, this is a powerful booster. Research shows that our brain is capable of producing new brain cells at any age. Significant memory loss is not an inevitable result of aging. Matter of fact, every one of you here has stronger memory power than the most advanced computer. Did you know that our brain records everything in detail? Problem is not memorization, but our lack of an optimal retrieval system. Using the method that I have uncovered, not only have increased my peace, but have also given me a powerful tool to be able to memorize anything. If you're interested to find out more about how I did it, private message me on chat and let me know that you are interested to find out. And also let me know which email address you would like me to send the information to. I would be more than happy to share with you how to develop this skill so that you will be able to develop this powerful memorization process and increase your peace and your brain power. Mr. Toastmaster.
Woo! That is amazing. That was a great, great, great speech. And yes, I have, and yes, I need those tips. I'll be emailing you to get that. One of the things, okay, before I go on, Mr. Timer, give us a 1 minute on the clock for us to give some private feedback to Susan for that wonderful speech. While we are doing that, for me, I don't remember people's names. I see their face, I recognize their face. In fact, I was in a wedding at the weekend and I saw two people. I said, you are in my college back in Nigeria. And they were surprised. They didn't know me. But of course, I don't know their names. I can't even try, but I can see their faces. So yes, I'll be subscribing to that and hopefully to help me to remember people's names. Thank you, Susan, for that doggedness you've shown in memory improvement, and all of us will benefit from it. We're going to our third speaker, and our third speaker is our president, Ukpai Kalu. Ukpai has been a member of this club since 2014 and has previously served as our club secretary, a vice president education. Ukpai is a certified project management professional with multiple diplomas and higher graduate degree in project management. He has experience of over 2 decades in oil and gas industry. Today, Ukpai will be speaking to us on a speech titled, No One Fits All. Leadership is indeed broad, and like the proverbial blind man in front of an elephant, it has many dimensions. Tonight, he will be sharing his experience of leadership and tools of leadership style. Over to you, Ukpai. Are you on mute, Ukpai?
Okay. Leadership is not a rank. Neither is it a position. The leadership is a decision. And leadership is a choice. When you make that choice, whatever you choose to help, to inspire, to influence people in order to achieve their goal, that to me is leadership. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, good evening. When I was growing up, I had the phrase, leaders are born. Fortunately, as I grew up and got exposed to the concept of leadership, I came to realize anyone can become a leader. As long as you have a value you add to other people. When I talk about leadership and leadership style, I quickly remember about the blind man and the elephant. Each of the blind men, they had a feel, either the leg, the tail, or the tusk. Each of them had an impression of what they felt, but they never had a total picture of what that object was. Now I take it back also. When I watch the National Geographic, Animal Planet, I see lion with their claws, with their teeth, they devour their prey. But the same claws, the same teeth, they play with the cubs. What I have come to see, as many of these leadership styles are, applying them for the right situation, for the right environment, for the right setting, can produce a positive result. The same way the lion could have turned the claws to become dangerous to the cubs, when we play those leadership styles in a wrong setting, could also turn out to be an undesirable result. I did take time to run through my leadership style, and I got top 8 in a descending order. First was authoritative. Second was bureaucratic. I had best setting. I had democratic. I had affiliative. And I had democratic. And when I run through this, I could believe and accept and agree with the results. For me, when it comes to maybe professional setting, when I have a good grasp of the subject matter, I want to lead. I want to express that opinion. And when I look back at home with my kids, I see that also play out, because I want to set the standard. And I want to make it to be clear for them to understand and to follow. I also realize I can also be democratic sometime with them in order to ensure that I am able to set the standard, and I also can feel their feelings in order to welcome their input. I realize there's no leadership style that solves all the problems of leadership. When I look at the other one that also came up in my leadership questionnaire was coaching. And that taught me a lot of lessons to also realize leaders are not only those ones that are occupying a position or are high up there. And I could see leadership even in my 17-year-old boy, Samuel. Samuel is the one gifted in terms of athletics. He's in race, he's in hurdles, he's in high jump, and he's also in football. And I see my 13-year-old boy, Daniel, who seems to admire what he's doing. And he takes him almost like a leader. He draws from his experience. And I see Samuel getting motivated that someone admires what he is doing. That's coaching to me. And when I look back again at my result, I could see the altruistic, and that to me is good. And I could see it play out in someone like President Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was one who could forgo his own personal ego, who could forgo his own personal dignity in order to ensure the Union actually survived. I take you to a story. The story of General George McClellan. He was the head of the army as at 1861. He appointed him, and one of the evening, he walked over to his house. Right there, he waited for 1 hour. General George never came back. And when he came back, he went straight upstairs and went asleep. And when he told the porter that he doesn't want to see anyone, the president waited, and when it was told that, he became everyone angry, except the president. And what did the president say? This is not the time for us to talk about personal dignity. It is time for us to look at the bigger picture. To me, that's leadership. I've said about 3, whichever leadership style that is up to you. Remember, the only way they can be effective, the only way they can bring a desired result is for you to know what leadership style you have and to also seek for how you can apply it. Why? Leadership style that works well here may not work well in another setting. You need to realize the situation, you need to realize the environment. That's where you can perform. Once you understand your leadership style and know how to apply it. Mr. Toastmaster, over to you.
Let's get started. Next, we finished our prepared speeches. Now we are going to have our impromptu speeches. And our table topic master today is no other than Rafia. Rafia, over to you.
Thank you, Ola. Good evening, Mr. Toastmasters and fellow Toastmasters. The purpose of the topic master is to facilitate table topics where guests and the members will have the opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. I will introduce a topic and call on speakers who will be given 2 minutes to speak on the subject. Our timer will be recording the time. And the first question that goes with our theme is, according to the 2000 census, 97% of Americans can understand English. That is the biggest uniting force in the country. Can you live in America without knowing English? And now I would like to have the volunteers, anyone who would like to, please. Raise your hand, otherwise I can choose myself. Okay. Okay, I will give. Okay,
Can I
Jorge.
volunteer for that one? Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I guess the question is, with 97% of American understanding English, if you can live in America without knowing English.
Exactly.
I have a story of one of my aunts. He moved to New York probably about, we'll say 50 years ago, probably, basically to help her daughter who was living in New York at that time, but suffering of cancer. And she needed somebody actually to help her taking care of the kids and helping with the home and everything else, all the duties at home while she was going through her treatment. She ended up living for more than 20 years in New York, but she lived in an area that is called Washington Heights, which is mostly an area of immigrants from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and a lot of Colombians. So literally she lived in New York area for about 20 years without learning a single word of English and able to fulfill most of the daily life activities as long as she stayed in that neighborhood. That was kind of a microcosmos of the Latin culture in New York. Now, needless to say that if she needed to do any legal paperwork or go to a post office or a place where she needed to actually speak English, she always have to ask for a neighbor or a friend or somebody who will take her to do whatever she needed to do when it requires English language. But she was able to ride the metro, to ride the train everywhere in New York. She was able to go to most of the tourist sites. She was able even to travel international without really learning a single word of English, which I really think is amazing. I don't know how she was able to handle that, but she was able to do that again, that was probably between the 1960s and the 1990s, probably that period of time. She did die in Colombia. She moved to Colombia when her daughter feel better, and she didn't have to go to dine in a foreign country or anything like that. But I will say, depending on where you are in this country, it's possible to live without knowing English. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you for sharing the experience of your aunt. So for sure, she's not among the 97%. So that's for sure. Okay. Okay, so my next question is going to be, I'm going to say the question and then we'll decide who's going to volunteer. So America has more cars than anywhere else in the world. What aspect of driving do you enjoy and what do you hate the most? So anyone who would like to volunteer? How about Jessica?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay. So the question is, America has more cars than anywhere else in the world. What aspect of driving do you enjoy and what do you hate the most?
Okay, thank you. Well, I grown up from China. When I was growing up, I never have a chance to drive a car. Most of the time is riding buses to go here and there. And sometimes I didn't even ride too much taxis there. So only once or twice I was in the car that was driven by the driver in our company, like took us for some different shows or some important stuff. Then they drove us. So I was okay back then that without a car. But when I moved to North America, the first few years I have no car. I will live in Toronto, and we have really great public transit system. So we have streetcar or buses or everything that can take us here and there. So I was okay with that. And then when I start working, definitely I have to drive and I have to learn drive. So I got my license, driver license there. And And the one that scared me the most is driving on the highway. I'm okay to drive locally. I don't mind stop at the stop lights or traffic lights, but like driving to the highway make me really, really nervous. But I was managed to drive for a couple of years, like locally, until I got another job that I have to go on highway. And I remember the first ride I go there, my husband had to drive with me. So he drove in front of me. I was taking the second car, and then he practiced with me, and I was managed to drive through and then and drive back safely. So I guess I don't know if I get the points, but that's my experience. But now I'm okay driving. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much for volunteering. And you're right, the highway driving is still scares me, especially when you are passing and you are between the two trailers. Oh, that's the scariest part. So, Mr. Toastmaster, do we have time? Can I go for one more?
Yes, let's do one more.
Oh, okay. Okay, the third one I'm going to ask, innovation has been the heart of America from the light bulb to the iPhone. Which invention is the hardest for you to give up? So anyone who would like to share, who would like to speak about it? Okay, Kim, how about you? Would you like to?
Yes.
Thank you.
An innovation that would be hard for me to give up is definitely electricity. I remember a few months ago, we had the snowstorm, and I was one of the fortunate people that really wasn't impacted that much. We had water the whole time, and we lost electricity for probably 2 hours in total. And I just remember going crazy. I couldn't access my laptop, my phone. It was dark. I couldn't make anything. The food in the fridge, it was melting. It was just a big disaster. So it just made me appreciate the innovations from our forefathers all over the world and just say, you know what, we really, really take electricity for granted, but it's something that's very valuable and useful in our society. So that would be something that would be difficult to live without and give up. Thank you, Rafia.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. You are very true. Yeah, we all have experienced, not all, maybe most of us. I did myself, and you are right that electricity is hard to give up. Mr. Timer, do all the speakers qualify?
Yes, they do.
They do. Okay. I believe now I have to go back to Mr. General Evaluator.
I mean, what an array of speeches and impromptu speeches in particular, as well as prepared speeches in general. What an amazing array of speeches we've been able to listen to tonight. Without further ado, our first evaluator is going to be OA, and OA will be evaluating Anthony. Please join me in putting your hands together for OA as he evaluates Anthony.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters, it's really a privilege for me, an honor, and a little bit even scary to evaluate Anthony. I feel like the student evaluating the master. So I'm going to use what I learned from him regarding evaluation. I'm going to use the connection, delivery, and content method to evaluate Anthony. So I love the way Anthony connected with the audience from the very first second in his presentation. The way he used or the way he looks at the camera makes you feel like he's talking directly to you. And the way he communicates and he uses his gestures, eye contact, is excellent. I feel like he was right here sitting in front of me, delivering this speech directly to me. I know that most of you were probably feeling exactly the same that I was feeling. Regarding delivery, he was spot on, very clear. He totally dominated the topic. and his vocal variety and the way he delivers in a very calm voice make it very easy to understand and very easy to listen to. Once again, he make it very personal. He make it like the whole speech was prepared just for me and nobody else. And finally, in content, obviously he knows this topic very well. He wrote the book, was very well organized, was very simple but very deep, was extremely interesting. And the way he present his thought and the way he deliver his content make us feel like, once again, that all this information was prepared exclusively for me. So I think that he really inspired the audience. He got right spot on. He connected with all of us and he gave us a he gave us a message that really make us think deeply and make us think that we need to continue on learning more about this topic and talking to him more, and definitely reading the two books that he recommended at the end, The Purpose of a Driven Life, and obviously his book, which I bet is excellent. So with this, I only would like to add, the only thing that I will recommend him to work a little bit on is on his presentation, it was showing normally there are two screens when you have a presentation. One is kind of intended to the audience. It was showing the part of the presentation that was intended for the speaker. That's what it was showing there. But other than that, it was a perfect presentation. Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jorge. To evaluate Susan is Jessica. And I don't think either of them needs an introduction. With that said, please join me in putting your hands together as Jessica evaluates Susan. Over to you, Jess.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Susan, that's a wonderful speech. I really like the title. When I first read your title, I thought, oh, that's something I guess the other people also feel the same thing, that need to understand how you did it. And when you started with the story of that gentleman, try to remember the roses and try to remember the name of restaurant. That's really well plotted. And it's with a little surprises. And you also get everybody engaged and connected. And I checked the poll, 8 people response. And I'm the one that didn't because I was trying to write down the notes. But you see, that also proves how many people get connected, engaged with your first story. And then you move on to the second story. And that was also a little surprise that you were actually talking about yourself. And I can feel the anxious because I also, from time to time, I lost memory. Just like you said, I stopped somewhere and I don't remember why I was there. And especially try to remember somebody's name is such a difficult thing for my life. So that's another thing, that you get people connected. And I was amazed that you were able to memorize the 2 long passage from the Bible. And that's a really great message. And the way you put it together, really, really good. And that's also the other thing I think you excel on is the good choice of words and phrases. Like my thoughts scattered like in 1,000 pieces, and I lost confidence. I want to hit 2 birds in 1 stone. All those great word choices and the phrases that just bring more attention to your message, and also bring us understand your story and your concept more. The other thing I want to, I'm thinking, my suggestion is it's great that you tell us how you improve it, but I'm just wondering if you can show a little bit more what you learned, how you did it. I understand you said, oh, email me, then I will give you the hint, but maybe during your speech, you can tell a little bit in there and then draw more attention and interest into that. That's the only suggestion I have. And thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you,
Well
Jen.
prepared and good memorized. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. To evaluate Ukpai is going to be our one and only Avi. It's a case, it's a tale of two presidents, the immediate past evaluating the current. With no further introduction, Avi, please. The floor is yours. Give it a go. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Ukpai, after a long time, I get to hear your speech. I'm very excited that you did a wonderful job here. I'm going to evaluate you in 3 parameters. Parameter 1, what is being told. 2, how it is being told. And number 3, how it is perceived. So let's start with parameter 1, what is being told. You set the tone immediately by giving a firm statement. Leadership is not a rank, it's a decision. Love that. It's a great start. You segued into a personal story and you compared a saying versus actual reality. And what I mean by that, you mentioned a saying that is leaders are born, whereas the reality is a person with value can also become a leader. I love that statement. Throughout your speech, you have laid out various examples, starting with the blind man story, which is so much relevant. You moved on to the lion example. That is how a lion tailor his leadership skill with a teeth as well as the claws. Both are used to control the situation, but differently and has impact on it. Also, you told your story about Lincoln. Personal ego and dignity was forgone for that. That was beautifully said. I liked how you pressed on certain data points from your own experience, your own test case. That is, you see authoritative as the top, then you go on with bureaucratic, democratic, and so on. Your desire that you mentioned to lead and how you stress on opinion is really worth listening to that. Let me move on to the second part. That is how it is being told. Your voice projection was phenomenal. This is how we always wanted to project ourselves. I liked it. I love the hand gestures. They were really good. It emphasized every point that you were making specific to the situation. And I think the most commendable part, that again, this is my opinion, was how you were carrying yourself. You were in a piece. You were telling a story, but with powerful impact. Even though this is a large topic, leadership is a large topic, but you optimally covered within the given time. Pacing of your words, that was beautiful. You waited, you analyzed, and you projected every word strategically. I like that. Parameter 3, that is how it is being perceived. I saw everybody nodding to your points. People were listening to you, and I felt like people are actually glued to the topic. A recommendation, if I have to make one, and again, this is just a recommendation from my perspective, per your speech title, that is one size doesn't fit all. Same with my recommendation, it might not fit all. I might want to see a little bit of difference between the body and when the conclusion starts. I thought it's a little bit overlapping, but if you can make it in a next speech, it will be good. I loved your speech. I understand why you're a great leader. I'm so glad to have you as a new president. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Avi. So the timer. Do all the evaluators qualify?
Yes, they do.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. Right now, we're going to give them the privilege of being voted for. So can we please cast a ballot? Send your ballot
in our documents inside the.
That would be great. That would be